The topic today is why I skip the grocery stores as often as possible and where I find the most cost-effective and nutritious food. This is a really big topic. So for those of you that have not met me yet, my name is Pam Bartha and I'm the author of Become a Wellness Champion and the founder of Live Disease Free. And I'm really excited to spend this time talking to you and sharing with you the strategies, the shopping strategies that I use to find the most nutritious and cost-effective food, and really to buy local as often as possible to avoid the big grocery stores when I can. I do live in Canada, so unfortunately I do not have access to vine-ripened produce all year round, but whenever we do, it's so important to go for it because there's so much more nutrition in it, and I'll be sharing lots about that. So if you're just joining me, welcome. And if we haven't met before, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis 28 years ago. And through all of these things that I've learned and what I share in my videos, that is how I've been able to live free of MS for the past 28 years. We're almost up to 29 years now. And I have enjoyed a beautiful, full life so far. And now I'm a grandmother and I get to enjoy my grandkids. And I've had the amazing privilege to coach hundreds, reach thousands. We are reaching thousands of people, but coaching hundreds of people over the past 18 years and helping them to take back their health and their life. We all know that if we suffer with different types of symptoms, maybe we have digestive symptoms, gas, bloating, constipation. Maybe we have a lot of cognitive brain symptoms. It could be things like foggy head, poor memory, maybe feeling really depressed or feeling super anxious, and also other symptoms where we have inflammation throughout our body. We may have pain, we may have migraine headaches, we might have weakness and tingling and numbness and paralysis and all these horrible symptoms of chronic disease. So we do know that if we suffer with any type of disease symptoms, that our food is super important. But I want to share with you, first of all, why it is so important to buy local. And to do that, I have to take a step back and give you a little bit of background information. So we know that, and maybe some of you don't know all of this that I'm going to share, but just in general, we know that nutrition is the foundation of wellness. Some of you think that if I eat right and exercise, I can beat my disease. It's the first step, and I'll be sharing more later. But the important thing is to understand that when we want to get well, when we want to live our very best life, have the most energy and feel the youngest, that we have to start with nutrition. And I'm just going to take a pause here for a minute. And if you're joining me, I just want to say hello to a few people. And please like this, share this, give me some love. I know you guys have been sending me some love already. Thumbs up, because it just makes it so much more fun for me, because that's the interaction that I get. All right, so hello, Carol and Dana and Jeanette and Valerie, Nancy and Oksana, hello, Troy, Ann Myers, hello, Ann, and Wanda. So those are just a few of the people that have joined us so far. So when we talk about nutrition, even though we live in the land of plenty, we are more deficient today than ever before in history. And there's really three big reasons for this. Number one, and this is not the Wellness Champions. I know some of you are Wellness Champions that are listening to this video or this Facebook Live right now, but if you have never met me before, then you may not know the difference between real whole food and these food-like substances. So we're living on shakes and we're living on bars and a lot of processed foods. We're super busy, so we're grabbing sandwiches and we're grabbing burgers and fries, etc. And we're trying to eat low fat, and that does not work. We're the most obese that we've ever been. So because we're living on food-like substances, we become nutritionally deficient. So we know that these food-like substances, they do add in, it's called fortifying it with synthetic nutrients, certain B vitamins, etc. But those vitamins are not real vitamins. They come from coal tar and petroleum and other chemicals. When we eat real whole food, we know that science has discovered at least 12,000 different types of phytonutrients. They are not in our processed foods. They are not in our food-like substances. So that is one of the big reasons why we're so deficient in nutrition in this day and age. We have so much food available to us, but we are not eating real food, and so we're missing out on a lot of the nutrients. And we know that all these nutrients, they are the fuel that make healthy cells and a healthy body. So we need that fuel. The second reason why we are so deficient today is because for most of us, we have to rely on getting our fruits and vegetables, our produce, from these large commercial farms around the world. And these farms use factory farming type practices. So for example, you've probably seen it on television, these like huge fields, huge tractors, and it's number one, it's continuous farming. So they never give the soil a chance to rest. So the soils become deficient in trace minerals. That's one problem. Number two is that they're using a lot of fertilizers and synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. So herbicides and pesticides. So there's a lot of chemicals on our produce. But it's not just that we're getting residues of the chemicals, but when these chemicals go into the soil, it changes the soil. So you can think about the soil as having its own ecosystem of microbes. And when you're putting all these chemicals on the soil, a lot of those health promoting microbes that are living in the soil that will help to break down rock and other minerals for the plants, they're not there anymore. And then these plants become sickly and deficient, right? So, and then there are certain chemicals like glyphosate that we pick up as residues in the food, and it actually causes leaky gut. It has a huge impact on our immune system. And that's also linking in with genetically modified organisms. So between genetically modified organisms, between putting all these chemicals on whether it's fertilizers or pesticides, we end up with food that is really low in nutritional value. Way different than it was in the 1950s. Also, it's important to note that these chemical fertilizers, they are synthetic, but they also carry a lot of heavy metals. And so as they're applying these synthetic fertilizers year after year after year, they're getting this buildup of heavy metals in the fields. So that is why certified organic is so wonderful. It used to be normal produce that we used to get, right? Certified organic used to be just normal produce, but now, unfortunately, that's not the way that most of the farming is going on. Also, these large farms, they pick their produce early, because if they vine ripen it, then it becomes mushy by the time it gets to our home. And when you pick green produce, when you don't let it ripen on the vine, then we're seeing up to a 40% decline in nutritional value. You guys know that. Tell me, in the dead of winter, if you live in an area where you don't have a garden, what do those tomatoes, they're like $4 a pound, they don't taste very good, right? They taste like nothing. But when you pick that vine ripened tomato off of in your garden, off of the tomato plant, and you smell it, it has that beautiful smell. And when you taste it, it's just like an explosion of flavors in your mouth. All those flavors from vine ripened fruits and vegetables, those flavors are from the phytonutrients, and that means that that vegetable or that fruit is bursting with nutrition for your body. So what I'd like for you guys to do is to interact with me. You can also comment and share. Share this training with other people that you know are really interested in eating healthy and living healthy. Maybe they have chronic disease, but maybe they're a super healthy person and they're just into finding better ways to get well. And make sure you add in your comments. Like I'm going to be talking about how I find healthy food, but give me some ideas on what you also do, because maybe there's some things we can learn from each other. So because of the high pesticide residue, which is impacting the soil, which is impacting the health of the plant, plus we're picking our produce green when it has not had that opportunity to vine ripen. And also when it is picked, very often it takes a week or two before we get it in our fridge. So between the picking and the shipping and putting it on the supermarket shelf, and then we buy it and we put it in our fridge, and then we might not eat it for a few days. It could be a week to 2 weeks before we eat it. And so what we're seeing today, and this is crazy, but studies are showing that if we were to eat, let's say if we wanted to get the same amount of vitamin A in 2 peaches that were from the 1950s, we'd have to eat 53 peaches today. 53 peaches to get the same vitamin A that you would have gotten from 2 peaches in the 1950s. That's huge. And I'm not talking about where I live, we have beautiful vine-ripened peaches. I'm talking about if you go to a big grocery store and you pick those peaches, you know what I mean? They're rock hard. Sometimes they turn mushy before they taste like and they don't really taste like anything when you eat them. So those are very, very deficient in nutrition. And then if we were to, let's say, want to get the same amount of vitamin A from 1 orange in the 1950s, we'd have to eat 10 oranges today. Spinach is really huge. So you know the spinach in the plastic tubs, the stuff that's small spinach that's picked, and I don't know if it's in greenhouses or where it's coming from, but we would have to eat 65 cups of spinach today to get the same amount of iron that we would get from 1 cup of spinach in the 1950s. 65 cups of spinach for the same amount of iron in 1 cup of spinach from the 1950s. So that's a huge difference. And they're seeing up to a 40% decline in nutrition in all our fruits and vegetables. So yeah, we're getting the fiber and we're getting water, and it costs a lot of money, but we're not feeding our bodies like we should. So this is one of the reasons. We know, science has shown us that if we have nutritional deficiencies, that it can cause diseases. So as we're in recovery, the first step is to optimize nutrition. All right. The third reason why we suffer with nutritional deficiencies today, even though we can go to the grocery store and we can get fruits and vegetables from all over the world, is that we are suffering with dysbiosis. And if you've listened to any of my training videos, you will know what I mean. It means that we're out of balance in our body with respect to the microbes, the different bacteria and different other microbes that are living inside our body. We have too many bad microbes and we don't have enough good microbes. When that happens, we get a breakdown of our intestinal lining in our GI tract. We get inflammation, we have mucus there. We end up not releasing our enzymes. So we are not digesting our food very well. We are not absorbing our nutrition very well. And so that's another big reason why we become nutritionally deficient. Also, keep in mind that a lot of these bad microbes are freeloaders. They are parasites and they are eating our nutrition. So that would be a fourth reason why we're deficient. So we want to have lots and lots of good, healthy microbes. And that's for another topic. I've got tons of wonderful videos. And if you want to go back and kind of figure out what's the best eating plan for me, I did a couple of different videos recently. Number one is what's the best eating plan for me, where I compared vegan, vegetarian, low fat, high fat, carnivore, like what is the best way to eat, not just for recovery, but for health, and just the pros and cons. And so that you understand, you know, really how you should decide on which type of eating plan to pick. Then I also had a video that you can go back and look at. And if you do suffer with multiple sclerosis or any type of chronic disease, I explained the best type of eating plan to help you recover from multiple sclerosis or any type of chronic disease. So you can look for those 2 different videos. You just go to livediseasefree.com. No, livediseasefree. Livediseasefree.com is my website, but Live Disease Free, Facebook or YouTube. I've got a ton of free videos with lots of good content. So now we've established, you know, the state of where we're at with our health and also where the state of our food is at, and especially our fruits and vegetables, which are so important to give us all the nutrition so that we can be strong and healthy all our life. Now I'm going to share with you why I buy local as often as possible. So now we're getting, in our area here, we're getting into the springtime. And what that means is that I make a point to stay out of the big grocery stores as much as I can. And as our season is just beginning here, I am not able to go to the local farms because they don't have enough yet, but we can go to the farmers market. So that's where I would start. And let me backtrack for a minute. So before I go shopping, number one, I make a list and I have a really good idea of what types of meals I want to prepare for that week. So I have a good idea of what vegetables, what meats, what things we're short of in our house. So I first have a list and I'm prepared. And I've been doing this for so long, I have a really good idea of how much, because I eat a lot of vegetables. Like a lot of people are like, how many people are you feeding? And we're like, 2 or 3. And it's a huge amount because it's low carb, high nutrition. And so number 1 is being prepared, going there knowing what you want to buy. And it's important to consider to have a variety of vegetables and a variety of different meats and a variety of healthy fats, because we get different types of nutrients from different types of foods. And also we want to avoid boredom, right? We hate to eat the same thing all the time. So make a list. That's what we do, is make a list of foods that we really enjoy eating. And it serves as a memory jogger. So we can go, oh man, we haven't had that for a while. Let's grab all the ingredients for that. So we have a local farmers market twice a week. So I have to make sure that I time it, that I can get there. And the farmers markets are a little bit more money for sure than the local farms, but that's where I have to start because I live in Canada. But as the season starts to progress, then I go to the local farms. It's really worth your while to scope out, search out local farms in your area that have really good quality produce. So it is important to buy certified organic whenever possible, right? Because you will be avoiding the genetically modified foods. You will also be greatly reducing your pesticide load by avoiding those. But just a little word of caution is that if we buy certified organic in those big grocery stores, and if that certified organic is coming from the big farms, we know that there's not a big difference in nutritional content because they're still picking it green, right? If you pick it green, it's not sitting on the vine the last few days and all those phytonutrients are loading in. And so certified organic that's coming from far, far away will have less nutrition in it. So it's important to buy different vegetables and fruits that you can find locally, because in our area, what the farmers will do is they will pick the produce the night before, sometimes the morning of. And I prefer the farms. So we found some amazing farms where they are either certified organic or they use very, very little spray. And I trust them. I know them and they hate using spray, so hardly ever. But the quality, you also want to look at the quality. You don't want wilted, brown, and you don't want mold on it. So you want to make sure that it looks healthy because you're putting it in your body. So what I love to do is go to our local farms and support them, because you will notice that it's so easy to eat, so simple because it is so fresh. And I will pick a lot of the fresh herbs from the different local farms. So things that I love that are really special would be thyme and basil, like fresh basil. They have big bags of basil. I love to tear off the leaves and put leaves on top of our eggs or in our different foods. Delicious. So basil and thyme and oregano is great, but also dill is really wonderful. Cilantro is so fresh. And we're coming into the season where we can get a lot of the greens. That's usually what starts right in the season, is a lot of the greens. So you can start getting spinach, and you can start looking for, the kale might be a little bit longer, but spinach. And then as time goes, the lettuces, right? The green leafy lettuce, we love the romaine, and the Swiss chard starts to come up. So right now you can start loading up. Some of you live in beautiful areas where you've got lots of produce, and some of you are in areas like me where we're just starting to get into the greens and the herbs. So start with the farmer's market. If you're not in full production yet, move over to the smaller farms, find them in your local area. I'm a super busy person. I go once a week. I buy tons and we eat a lot. So it's totally fine if you buy once a week, if you're busy. All right, so that's super important. And then the broccoli and the cauliflower and the zucchini and the green beans and even different Chinese vegetables, some of these, and arugula, like the arugula from the farms tastes so much more amazing than even those little plastic containers that we get in the dead of winter. And some of us, maybe we're dealing with a lot of disability. We don't have a lot of support. We have to eat what we do, but then we will have to supplement a little bit more with nutritional supplements. And we're going to talk about that next week. So the key is, number 1, make sure you're prepared. Number 2, make sure that you start off with staying away from the large grocery stores as much as possible. So in the summer, I never go to the large stores. You know, if there's a certain vegetable, a lot of times I'll avoid it and I'll just kind of do without, because I like to buy local, because that is loaded with nutrition. And then if I can't purchase things like maybe my organic teas or maybe nuts and seeds, then I will go to the health food store. Then I will go to places like Costco to get the, if I can't get eggs, etc. But that's the order that I do it. I buy all of my produce, first of all, at the farms, and then whatever left over, like toilet paper, etc., then I will make a quick stop at a grocery store for that. Also for the meats, if you go to your local farmers market, you will very often find these amazing farmers that do grass-fed beef or other types of chicken, etc., like organic chicken. And so you can make the connection with them, and then you can go to their farms. Sometimes you can purchase maybe more bulk meat, whether it's a side or a quarter, or you can buy so many chickens. So there's different ways to make it more cost effective that way too. But that is where, or if you don't have access to that, a lot of you have these local butchers and local meat, fresh meat stores, where they take a lot of pride and they really have good cuts of meat, and they make things, they keep the sugar out and they keep the nitrates out, and they don't put that chemical in the hamburger that makes it turn so nice and red. So we have to really become aware, because our food is really one of the biggest investments that we can make into our health. It really is the fuel that keeps this body going, and it's the fuel that has allowed, it's been a huge part of why I have been able to be MS free, is that I didn't cure myself 28 years ago. I knocked those infections back far enough, and then I have managed, I've been able to keep the bad ones down well enough, keep the good ones up well enough, that I've been able to live MS free for the past 28 years, almost 29 years. We're almost hitting that, almost going to be 30 years pretty soon, which is exciting. So I'm going to go over and see if you guys have any questions, or maybe you have some comments, maybe you have some suggestions that I haven't thought of. Hello, Ansha. All right, I hope I can see all of your questions here, because I know that I usually have a problem with that. All right, so comments, awesome. So hello, Ansha and Dana. So Mary, any thoughts about Wall's protocol eating for multiple sclerosis? What I would do, Mary, if I was you, is go back to one of my previous videos where I talked about what is the best diet for multiple sclerosis. When we know that multiple sclerosis is caused by infections, then it helps us to understand what would be the best type of eating plan to treat those infections. So we know that a lot of those microbes, they really love carbohydrates. So they love it when we're eating not just the pop and the sugar and the chips and the cookies and the baked goods and all the grains, but they also love it when we eat the natural sugars. So I know that I love Dr. Terry Wall. She's doing amazing work, and I just really commend her for what she's doing. She's making a big change in the world. And I know that I've been watching her, and I know that she has more of a stricter eating plan. I think it's called Paleo Plus. So she's noticing this too, is that if we have smoothies and if we have chocolate and if we have wine, it's still going to aggravate or promote those infections more. And so the Live Disease-Free eating plan is a little bit more geared toward helping us to greatly reduce the food to those microbes that are making us sick and to feed the body. That's the goal of it. And I talked a lot about the Live Disease-Free eating plan on a different video, What is the Best Diet for MS? You'll see that either on Facebook or on Facebook or on YouTube. So we do want to get those grams of carbs down lower. All right. Hello, Troy. Have I went to Live Disease Free? Oh, you haven't gone there. So that's my main website, is Live Disease Free. We did a rebranding. It used to be Become a Wellness Champion, and now it is Live Disease Free. So go check it out. There's actually a little video of me on the About page, which is really cool. And I showcase the Wellness Champions. The Wellness Champions I am so proud of. So I've had the amazing opportunity to coach so many people, hundreds of people in chronic disease over the past 18 years. And the people that I work with, I call them the Wellness Champions, because against all odds, some of them have no support. They are destitute with health, with finances. And they just said, no, I'm not going to live like this. I'm taking my life back. So they are truly my heroes. And some of you are on right now. on joining me, and I'm really excited that you're here too. And so, if you're listening to this training right now, and if you're someone who's like, man, I wish I could be a wellness champion. I wish I could start on this journey back to recovery. I wish I could treat the cause of what's making me so sick and not live with disability and not lose my life and lose my independence, then you can do that also. All you have to do is listen to my free training. I have a masterclass training where I share a lot more about these infections, and I share a lot more about the steps you need to recover. The eating plan is step number 1. All right, but there is no eating plan on this planet that will treat those infections well enough. We're talking about parasites. We're talking about fungus. We're talking about different types of bacterial infections and other types of microbes. So the key is that we use the eating plan. It is so important to feed our body because we want our body strong. We want our body to help in the fight, but we also have to help our body. We have to take some of this infection burden down. And that's what I teach people to do in the Live Disease Free Academy. So just go ahead and listen to that amazing masterclass training. You will love it. And I've got tons and tons of other videos online. I have a really excellent 5-part series talking about infection. So you can listen to all the different types of infection that are involved with multiple sclerosis. So I hope you enjoy that. I'm going to go back to the questions. And yes, Jeanette, you need to make sure that you're eliminating regularly, right? You need to have regular bowel movements. So that's a really important thing. And a lot of people that are eating a lot of vegetables, they're still constipated. And that's because of those infections. And as you're able to get the bad microbes down and the good ones up, then you find that you will be more regular. But there's things we can use in the meantime to help promote regular bowel movements. Hello, Stephanie. This is your first time using Facebook Live. You can't see the video. So there will be a replay if you are not able to see the video. I'm not sure how to explain how to get the video up, but you will be able to see it later. So Veronica, can you service help, or can you help my daughter who's being, oh, I am so sorry to hear that. So your daughter is being fed through a feeding tube. And it just breaks my heart. My heart goes out to you. I am just a hopeless optimist. I really am. And so I personally, if it was my daughter, I would just do everything that I could to save her life. So this is where I personally would listen to the free training. If it resonates with you, if it makes sense to you, then reach out to me. And there is so much that you can do, but it's going to take hard work, right? It's going to take doing the right things and having the right support. Hello, Christine and Ken. Hello, Maureen and Dana and Carol. All right, I think that's it for the questions. Just let me check. You are so welcome, Joseph. Yes, and that's the truth, is that in the recovery process, when you're treating these infections, it is a bumpy process. I wish it was all straight uphill. Maybe in 10 years when we know exactly which microbes, we've got good tests and we can just nail them quickly. But because our standard of care does not recognize infection, and because we don't have good tests, so then we are going by symptoms, and we're going by some different energy testing and figuring out which infections to treat. But the exciting thing is that it takes months, not years, to recover if you do the right things. All right. So with that, I'm just going to check to make sure that I've covered everything. I think that I have. So next week I will be here same time, and I'm going to be sharing why do we need to supplement, because a lot of people are like, do we really need to take supplements, and how do we know what is really going to help me and what's really going to be good for me, because it can be really expensive. And how many of you have a cupboard full of half empty bottles that you've stopped taking and you really don't know why you're taking them? So I'm going to be talking about how to tell the difference between synthetic and plant source, because many of you, you're like, I'm taking organic. I'm taking all natural organic, and look at all these fruits and vegetables in my supplement. It could be completely synthetic. The source of the nutrition could be from coal tar and petroleum. There are so many different marketing jargon things that we need to get past. So I'm going to start to introduce you to why you need to supplement. And I do supplement even in the summer when I'm living on nothing but vine ripened produce. because I have had a history of these infections. But in the summer, I might not take quite as much. But in the fall and winter, when I'm back, because we don't have a lot of local produce, then I will take more plant-sourced nutritional supplements. So more about that next week. So Troy, if you go on YouTube and you find the Live Disease Free channel, and you will see that there is a video. It says, what is the best diet for MS? And you know what it is because it is in your lesson 1. So, but you might want to listen to it. It's a great refresher. So Carol, your daughter-in-law has Lyme disease and is going to be going for all natural treatments and the eating plan for several months, and she's not getting better. So she's believes she has Lyme disease, and she's been doing all these different integrative treatments and following an eating plan, but hasn't gotten better. And this has cost her about $25,000. Yes, I am so sorry. Will your class training be different? Yes, it actually is. It's very, very different. And what I would say is too much to explain now. Listen to my master class training. So for example, with Lyme, we have to first treat, there's an order in treating. So your daughter doesn't just have Lyme disease. She has parasites. She has fungal overgrowth, she has Lyme disease. It's consistent with chronic disease, all right? And she might not have as much as somebody who is disabled, who's had, these neurological diseases for 10, 20, 30 years, but she has a multitude. So there are many versions of the eating plan. This one is powerful. We're seeing huge shifts within the first 2 to 3 weeks. If somebody's following it really well within the first week to 2 weeks, we can start to see improvements. And then it's a very systematic process. Follow the eating plan, support the body, then start to treat these infections layer by layer. And yes, there's tons of different ways to treat Lyme, but it's a very specific order. So what I would do if I were you is just look at all my stuff, listen to my free training. If you want to chat with me, you'll be able to book that free session with me and you can talk it over. Because let's put it this way, pretty much all the people I work with have Borrelia and some of the other vector-borne infections. Whenever we have neurological disease symptoms, most often, these vector-borne infections, Borrelia, Babesia, Bartonella, Ehrlichia, and on, they are involved. All right, but there's a lot more that's involved in that. And that's why your daughter has not had the results. And I am so sorry that you've had to invest so much. But there are people that work with me that have spent $100,000 to $300,000 before they even started treating infection, which is really sad. Thank you so much for all the love. I really appreciate all the thumbs up, all the sharing. So I'm going to let you guys go, and I'll be back next week. We will be talking about supplements. I hope you have an awesome week. Take care and bye-bye for now.